the main thing with ChatGPT, it's not going to solve all your business problems. You're still going to have business problems. You still got to do the basic. You got to smile and dial. There's no change in that.
Welcome one and all to today's episode of the Wise Agent Society's Sharpen the Saw. I believe we're on episode 14. And like our other times, we have an esteemed, amazing colleague with us. Today we have Alvie coming to us live in Las Vegas, Nevada. Alvie is a tech data junkie, you can call him. He knows everything about technology. He knows all the stuff about data and numbers in the community in Las Vegas and a little bit overall the national numbers a little bit too. And Alvie and I go way back from Keller Williams. Thanks so much for joining us today, Alvie. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, but thank you so much for having me on the show. Even though I'm number 14, hey, I am not mad at it.
Well, hey, man, you're hard to book, you know?
Oh, yeah, that could be true, too. But, hey, I make room for you only because I love you, man.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, my people have been trying to get a hold of your people for months now.
I am a phone call away for you. That's all you need to do. Smile and dial.
Thanks, brother. Well, we were just talking about it, that we're going to be kind of switching formats for the people out there. We're going to switch to a different platform rather than Zoom and try it out. And I have new equipment to try with. Here, watch, I'm going to show everybody real quick here.
That's what this whole show was about, you showing your equipment.
Well, it's my equipment, your equipment, whose equipment, whoever's got the best equipment.
Now I got to go get my Yeti. I feel like I need to get my Yeti now.
So I have this new Rode mic. It's a podcast microphone, and it's better than my old mic. And I don't have my notes on it right now, but Matt Kelderman and Nick Good, and I believe there's some other guy in Dallas, all running the only real estate podcast worth listening to. And their producer talked to me the other day kindly and gave me all kinds of tips on the right stuff to buy. So we're going to try to up the game here. I know it looks clear right now, but usually when we get these produced, they come out a little fuzzy. So I'm hoping to switch formats off of Zoom and into StreamYard is what we're going to use and this other stuff and have a better quality show. Yeah. Speaking of Alvie and me, so we go way back at the Keller Williams in, well, it used to be off of, what was it on? Durango?
Durango. Were you there back in Durango?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was, remember David Wong's Pan Asian Thai food, right? Half a block
Yeah,
down?
that was next.
Yeah. That was the first time I ever had Thai food, and I was hooked after that.
I've been a little bit on a Thai, settings now because they opened a Lotus of Siam a block down the street at the Red Rock Casino where I live in Summerlin. So we've been going there a lot.
Wow. That's cool. That's one of the
good.
most famous ones, just so you all know. Lotus of Siam is one of the most popular to tourists, but popular to the locals for sure, right?
Yeah, and it's world renowned too. So people around the world come. Not to mine, they go to the original, but mine just a bunch of locals.
Right. Well, Alvie and I used to do a lot of foodie dates together, going out to all the good restaurants. Alvie knows all the best restaurants, a lot of the good stuff to do in Las Vegas. So he knows I'm always down to go get some good food. So we try to do that in a while, but we'll get back to it.
Absolutely. You were too busy last time.
I know, dude. Busy, and you were too. At least I got to see it for a hot second.
I know. I kind of felt like I was out every night. It was like my wife's like, "Are you joining?" I'm like, "No." It's like all my people are here.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful thing too. So Alvie's at Keller Williams. I'm now at EXP, but we're still homies. And Alvie still has a huge network of friends and colleagues at lots of different places. You go to all the events like Remax and EXP Con.
I haven't been to Remax in a while. I felt like it hasn't had a lot of good luster there. Same thing with Zillow. I haven't been to a Zillow event in a while either. Tom Ferry, Tom Ferry's still really good. So I'm just really blessed. Everyone comes to me.
Yeah, that's the beauty about being in Las Vegas, right? Everybody comes there at least once a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So we were saying we met at Keller Williams. Debbie Zois's office, which, by the way, is still an amazing office. It's an amazing culture. It was part of what made me the real estate agent I am today, for sure. So I'm super grateful for that whole community and friendships like you and a bunch of the people in the office still that I still love and talk to all the time. But tell us maybe a little bit about your personal journey into real estate, like when you got started, why you got into it, what do you do now, kind of thing.
Well, we'll start with what I do now. Now I'm just looking around. I'm like, what should I be doing with today's real estate? But no, so I was an IT engineer early in my life. I got a degree, 2 degrees, one from marketing, one for MIS, which is computers. Then I just did that for about 12 years. And I felt like I was getting aged out because everyone we were hiring was like 10. They were like 18 years old, 19-year-olds coming out of high school, and they already had these certificates. So I'm a Microsoft certified engineer. So these people were coming out of high school with this already, mostly the ones in Seattle. So they were coming and I'm like, man, I don't know. And then I would work really hard and don't get me wrong, I got paid a lot, but the more I worked, it's still the same. It didn't matter how hard I worked. And then 2 of my bosses had been let go and then I took their positions and I really didn't get that much. They were making 50 and 60 grand more than me. And I only got maybe a $200 gift card to Olive Garden, which I thoroughly enjoy, but I felt like I'm doing their job at a better rate they were, and then I didn't get paid. So I didn't see the direct correlation. So during that process, I had bought a house and I'm like, ooh, I really like this. This is really good. So I said, maybe we should start looking at this. So my wife ended up being a real estate agent first. Then she went into new homes and she actually went to Keller Williams before I did. So so we lived in LA and then we moved back to Vegas. And then I'm like, hey, you seem better fit to start real estate. I have a really good job doing IT work. So let's do this. And then I'll switch over whenever it's ready. So I got ready to switch over in 2008 and I'm like, oh, this is great. And I went right into commercial real estate because I'm like, I don't want to sell houses to regular people. I'm above that. That was my mindset. So I'm like, all right. So then I got a really cool client right away. So Zions, that was a really cool client for me. That was a part of the UFC stuff early on.
Yeah.
Then after that, the commercial just died. Like it literally just went, basically the whole economy ended up crashing as well. Then I'm like, there was no commercial deals to be done. So then, all right, let me start doing residential. Then that just all imploded as well. I said, all right, I got to figure out something. I got to use my tech background. So I had at that point, I already had created a website early in life and did an IDX with that. But then the really cool thing was I'm like, what can I do? I went into Craigslist and I started doing high-rise leases on the strip. So normally, like in other parts of the US, people get paid 1 month for that. But here, normal is probably 200 to 250 a rental. That's regular houses. But on the strip, it was 500 to 2,500 for high-rise rentals. We're racking out almost 10 a week doing that.
Wow.
And that's all I focused on because I don't know, there was just not that it was easy money. I would just hold office hours at different buildings every day. And that's how I started. Once the economy came rolling back in late 2011, 12, and then I focused back on my Summerlin area and then started just selling houses out there. But I was like in deep with all the high rises on the strip.
I don't know how I missed that because, when I got started, this was 11 years or so ago in the office with you. I started doing tenant placement as well, leasing out everything, condos, houses, everything. And I was doing 20 some a month, 20 to 30 a month, actually, not quite 10 a week. That was pretty good. That's how I got started too, that's how I learned all the inventory so fast. And I was paying myself like 10 grand a month.
No, absolutely. It was good money.
Nobody wanted them. People thought either it was for new agents, bad agents, or this. And I'm like, no, I just automated it all. It was also systemized that, I literally spent maybe 2 hours per client. I showing them units and everything. And I did it with Craigslist too.
I was probably maybe 20 minutes per client. So I would be Monday at Allure, and then Tuesday would be at Sky, and then Wednesday would be at the Martin. They kind of didn't like me loitering around there much, but Friday and Thursday, Friday, I was at Veer. And then I would create my Craigslist ask, come here between 10 and 2:30. I will be here. So it was
That's
super
smart.
cool.
That's even smarter and more efficient than what I was doing it because
Yeah, and I would just sit there and I already had all the inventory in there.
Yeah.
And then I had my property managers. I'm like, hey, what do you got coming up? What do you got coming up? And then they're like, cool. I know it's not listed yet, but can I get access? And they're like, it's not clean. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were doing Veer. Veer is the twisty one. So the twisty one next to Aria. So we were doing studios for $750 and $800 a month.
Dude.
Yeah.
Wow. What are those going for today?
Oh, geez. I think 16, 18 now. And they're like 400 square feet, 420-ish.
Okay. Yeah. Small.
Yeah.
That's funny. So who was your typical clientele back then? Mostly like biotech guys, attorneys?
No, cocktail waitresses.
Okay. I knew what it was probably going to be, but industry people, maybe some dancers.
You know what? I wasn't going to go into that, but yes. So I give you a quick backstory on that. So I had helped one at Panorama, and
dancer.
Yes, a dancer at one down the street from there. So we call it the Rhino, is what it is. But the really funny part is, so it was $3,000 a month because it was one of the large ones. It was one of the 12s at a higher floor, and it was fully furnished. So we got it done. And then I received a phone call a couple of days later. They're like, hey, I heard you helped, what's her name, get a place. And I said, I did. And she goes, could you help me? I said, well, this is what she had. And she goes, okay, I could do that too. I ended up doing 15 in 3 months. Wow. So, and then I had to take
That's what I was going to say is like, I worked with quite a few dancers back in the day too. It's a big profession and they have a lot of money. And they typically live in the same area and they want a nice, they like the high rises and stuff for security purposes.
Correct.
So it's a cool segment that I didn't know or think about till I started selling real estate there, but they were great clients.
No, absolutely. And let me tell you about security. You want to jump on that is I had a high level celebrity with me. We were at Panorama and the agent did not put us on the access list. So they did not let us in. I said, do you know who this is? He goes, absolutely, but I can't let you in. So the circumvent that, we had to call one of my other clients I've already lived in. I'm like, hey, man, do you want to meet him? He goes, yeah. It's like, put us on the list and meet us in the lobby. So that's how we got in. But yeah, you're right. The security is top notch. I don't know lately. I don't know. But it was top notch.
But back in the day, they were looking for security and all of that, which I'm sure they still do. But that's interesting. That's just cool Vegas stuff that maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny part is the Rhino. They're not working. Yeah, the Rhino actually follows me on Twitter because Twitter was really hot back then. So it was like 2010, 11. So they follow me. They don't follow a lot of people, but I am still on there.
Woo! He's freaking famous at the Rhino.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, great customer client base and great people. And just funny how different things are in different parts of the country.
Absolutely. And then let me add one more thing with this Craigslist thing. That's why my whole techie background, because I was in tech before. So I had moved in from the high rise on the strip to other areas. Like I would do one for like Road Ranch and then Summerlin and then Mountain's Edge. The problem was I was very systematic, but I didn't have a CRM back then. So that was my problem. So we were generating quite the amount of leads, but I wasn't converting them because if you weren't ready for buying today with cash, I really didn't want to work with you because I didn't know how to work with you. So I didn't know how to nurture it. So that was kind of my downfall. But if I had been on top of it with the CRM back then, I'd probably be retired by now.
Yeah, no, good point that you put that out there because maybe a lot of agents that are newer watching this or whatever, or people that are established that aren't using a CRM, this is a perfect example. And so what I did when I first started is I did have a CRM and I used it extensively. And not only that, but I built out the SEO portion of the
Correct. So that was really sharp with the E-Edge.
E-Edge, baby. And so I was doing the same stuff that you kind of were, but I just came in and my mentor told me what to do. And that was part of our training and our discipline. So I did that. But you know what? So what all of those turned into a few years later, 2-3 years later, all these renters that I had put in, and then I started quickly working with buyers and sellers, they all started turning into buyers and sellers too. So it was such a smart way to kick off into the real estate game.
Correct.
I paid myself for the training.
No, absolutely. But there really wasn't real sales going on during that time in like 09 and 10.
Right.
Nobody had money. It was really bad.
Yep, it was crazy times. But I'm glad we survived. So now you live in Summerlin. Do you focus in Summerlin?
I
Mainly.
do. I do. Only because I love it and it's a good product. Not that I want to call my community a product, but it is a product.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed here because just the lifestyle of being in Summerlin, it's kind of like almost being in San Diego, but without the ocean. So we're very active out here. So there's over 100 miles of trails that people could cycle. I'm a cyclist, even though it doesn't look like a cycle. But then there's a lot of hiking right outside. So, and then beautiful things is where people could just leave their homes and just walk to the trailhead and start walking. So it's a lot of hiking out here. And we're also 9 degrees cooler than the Las Vegas Strip. So during these really hot times, it really, really helps out.
That is a big deal. It's a huge deal. When I lived there, living in Summerlin, living up in Centennial Hills, anywhere outside of the center really makes a big difference. And then there's lots of shopping, dining, and sports entertainment and stuff like that in Summerlin too. What are some of your favorite parts that are there?
Yeah. So the really cool part is, so in Summerlin, that's where the Golden Knights are. The Golden Knights are the defending Stanley Cup champions. They believe they're 3-0 right now. So their practice facility is a couple of blocks down the street, down from Lotus of Siam. So they have open practice. So on first day of practice, I dropped off the kids and I'm like, well, not really ready to work yet. So let me just pop in. You could watch them practice. And I'm like, oh, this is super cool. And it's free. Oh, cool. So another cool thing is because being in Vegas, it's all desert. We're not really into like ice skating and stuff. So now that the Golden Knights have created this, my kids are now ice skating. So inside the practice facility, we could use a ring during open skate. So we're inside there and they're skating around where the actual players do. So that's really super cool. Oh, cool. And we also have a state-of-the-art AAA baseball field with a pool. So the really cool thing there was I had rented out the pool during Major League Spring Training, and I invited my clients there. So it was a client appreciation event. Super cool. And I kind of felt like I would get a whole bunch of no's so I could go and invite more and more people. But I got capacity very quickly because everybody wanted to go.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah, it was super cool, super exciting stuff.
Yeah, I need to go to one of the 51s games. I haven't been to that stadium.
So. Well, they're called the Aviators now.
Oh, shoot. They are. I forgot they got changed. So, I haven't been, so I'd love to go.
And here's another thing for that, too, is so they're associated with the Oakland A's. So the Oakland A's are on their final step to come into Las Vegas.
Oh, so that's right.
Beautiful.
So is that like 100% going to happen? Or
so they just need 90%? Like one more vote to happen, and it's going to be a done deal. I believe it's supposed to happen in November, but the location's already set. Not the greatest, but I didn't get to choose it, so it's going to be where the Tropicana is.
Okay, cool.
So I think I did not the greatest location, but there was another stat too. There was something like 100,000 cars pass by the Tropicana every day. That seemed like it was really high, but then I looked further into it. That's about right on average. Wow. That's a lot.
Oh, that's good. And like with these other new sports and all these different event centers, holy cow! Like how Vegas is diversifying.
Oh, absolutely. We got F1 coming next month. We have the Raiders that are here. They're not my official team, but we have helped some players on there. So I get to, I go and support them, but I am a 49er fan. So
yes, you are. I know that about you. No, and the Sphere is super cool. Newest.
Yeah, I just went yesterday. So they had U2. They opened it up, and then U2 can't be playing all day long, so they can create some more revenue. So they had created a movie, kind of like it's a 51-minute movie where it takes in the whole entire Sphere on the inside. I would say it's probably maybe 280 degrees, give or take a couple of the whole screen. So It starts off pretty lame. I ain't gonna lie. I kind of felt like I needed my money back. But then it just like blew up and like, wow. And it's 16K resolution. Kind of felt like the whole thing wasn't 16K. There was a lot of 1080p in there. I'm just throwing that out there, but overall, It was a really good experience. I don't know about the 250 people paid for the middle seats, but we only paid 60, so that was really good.
Oh, I think that's sweet value. I didn't know what the tickets cost, so that's
the only
great.
Big problem is, and I'm going to release a video on how they go in and out of it from the Venetian, because there was a lot of bottlenecks in there, and they need to clean that very quickly because it's messy.
So that you think they'll be able to resolve that though with a better
Well, no,
layout?
because so I don't want to get too much details, but the
Okay.
Win employees, a lot of people here. So
Uh-huh.
the Win Encore. So the Win employees have to go to their parking garage. The Sphere traffic goes through there. So they're inside of a tight bridge. You have to stop traffic to let the Win people go in and over and then
Oh,
open
wow.
traffic up. It is like the dumbest thing I've ever
Oh,
seen.
okay. All right. Well, yeah, we're gonna have to figure something out
Maybe a
there.
turnstile would work and keep the flow, but they literally got to stop and it packs up because you got 18,000 people trying to go to the Sphere. Then you have somewhat maybe 10,000 Win employees going across.
Wow.
And if I'm running
That's
late to
crazy.
my shift, I don't want these people to be in the way because I gotta run through. So they got to stop everyone. And it didn't make
Yeah.
sense. I did film that.
Good to know. Okay, good. Well, we'll look forward to watching that video and getting the scoop on that in more detail.
But it was super
So,
cool.
I guess we could probably get to, and I probably should have
Yeah, I was gonna say
at the beginning of the
I
show.
could talk for days on everything.
Oh, this is my most favorite part anyway. Catching up, shooting the breeze, learning more about each other, and telling people about the history of ourselves and all that. That I could talk about that all day. I like to put in some meat and potatoes to why we actually came here, which today we're going to be talking a little bit about ChatGPT. And you are an expert in the field, and I've heard about all the awards you've gotten and all of you're a professor at the many universities teaching on it. And so excited to hear what you know about ChatGPT.
So that's the really funny part is like, all right, so expert, it's more of a relative term. So it's kind of like, all right, if I'm running in the Olympics, I may not win, but if I'm running against my local high school, I'm probably going to win. So that's my expertise inside of ChatGPT, especially when it comes to real estate. For your audience, ChatGPT is a natural language AI that interacts with you basically on a chat surface. But then most of the questions we do get, I'm like, oh, I'm already using a chat bot. I'm like, well, that's a little bit different. So a chat bot is going to be something you could put on your website and it's going to say stuff you inputted. So like if you could only ask X amount of questions, like, was like, where is Summerlin? And it'll say, oh, it's on the west side of Las Vegas. And that's it. Then that's it, because it's only the information you put in. And then if something changes, so let's say Summerlin prices had really dropped and they're like, hey, is Summerlin still the most expensive part of Vegas? Your input said, yes, it is. But in reality, it could have been on the backside. So that's the difference where the ChatGPT that's out there, it'll be able to augment whatever it needs to be and send it back. But the other part is there's two versions of it. So there's that old version that is for free and it's still great for 99% of all real estate agents. Then there's a new version that's $20 a month, but I do have a workaround. So you're going to have to stay on till the end and I'll give you the workaround.
All right.
So you got to get people hooked in. So let me know if I get too techy because I'm really freaking nerdy.
No, that's what I want to hear, is because this is stuff that the normal person maybe can't think about or know about. So there's ChatGPT 3, right? And then there's
3.5. Yeah.
3.5. And then 4 is the $20 one, right?
Yeah. 4 is the $20. Even though, hey, $20, right? It just mostly nobody's going to use it. There's some really high-end complicated stuff that you can do. And there's some cool stuff you could do with imaging wise. Some of the cool things is like you could take a picture of your refrigerator and said, create a meal out of what's in the refrigerator. And it'll give a list of that. Super cool. But is it used for us? I'd rather you go buy a Monster, a coffee, make sure you're more energetic and sell some more houses because that ain't going to help you. So that's
that's with the 4. That's
with the 4 version. Yeah. So a lot of more complicated stuff, but for us, kind of feel like 3.5 is going to be good for us. The only real drawback is the data is a little stagnant. I believe it's from 2021 is where the data is, but most of the concepts that you're looking for and need to use is already there anyway. So it's just not the real time data that you're going to need.
Okay, cool. Good to know. So what maybe are some introductory, or do you have your presentation you want to show, or what's the best way to kind of go into it a little bit?
We could do a lot of different things. We could do, I could show you guys what it looks like live. We could just talk about conceptual stuff. So let me talk about conceptual wise first, and then we'll go in there and touch it and do all kinds of cool stuff. So conceptually wise, how can I use it for real estate? So the main focus on this whole thing is content creation. So that's most of the part where us real estate agents were like, all right, I don't know what I really want to write about. I'm having writer's block. I can't really do anything. So I'll just jump on my phone and text some people. No, that's, this will solve your issues really, really quickly. And it could create stuff from all kinds of facets of real estate, what you need to do. And it's all this little tedious stuff. So it's kind of like a virtual assistant for content creating. They're like, oh, okay, well, what if I already have content? So you could run your content through and have it readjusted. So one of the key things that people have been using, and probably about 90% of all agents only use it for this, and it's really cool. I use it too, is I'll get a new listing and then maybe it was listed before, it's been sold a couple of times. And I'm like, wow, that's a really good description. So you can grab that description, copy it, drop it in ChatGPT, say, hey, rewrite it. And then it'll rewrite the description. Sometimes you don't even you don't have to drop it in, or you'll say, write a property description on this address. And sometimes they'll just pull it in. But sometimes here in Vegas, houses haven't been sold a lot, so they wouldn't know the data from there. So then they'll rewrite it, which is super cool. And then the other day I just did a listing, what was it, Thursday? I said, what, I'm not going to use it this time because I've been very spoiled. I'm going to write but I look at some of the previous sold, and when they're condos are all the same products, right? Go through, I'm like, ooh, that's written. So then I would be able to copy that and throw that in there and have ChatGPT rewrite it. It totally looks totally different. The really weird part is, so what people were doing is really helps us out is people were copying other people's solds and just dropping it directly word for word. And then our association said, hey, that's a copyright infringement. What? Yeah. So our broker sent out an email, hey, stop doing it. And I'm like, but what if it's well crafted? There's some really well crafty writers out here. I am not one of them.
I could have said it better than myself. That's what I would have wrote.
Yeah. So, just work smarter, not harder, be able to do that, but be able to grab some of that, or you can grab two different ones, combine them into one, be able to do that. So that's what's going to help you out. So how much time did that really save? Could have been 5 minutes, could have been 10 minutes, could have been 15 minutes. Hey, that's where it could be. One of the cool steps that you could do is if you have a really cool website, probably most of you just have a lot of old data in there. And this is something that I started going through because I got away from my SEO. So SEO was my main shop for a while.
Yep.
Is to go ahead and grab some of your old data.
What's SEO for the folks?
So SEO is search engine optimization. So back in the olden days, let's call it 5 years ago. So you could do a search like Summerlin homes for sale, and then it would pull up all these stuff on page 1. If you're on page 2, nobody goes there, so it doesn't really matter. So all those in there, they're like, you have to write your website to where you show that, hey, Google, I am a authority in Summerlin. So my stuff is based on that. So when somebody does a search on Summerlin, they're like, hey, this guy has a lot of good data on Summerlin, so he's going to be on our page 1. So you have to craft it where, hey, you show a lot of data in there. So here's the cool thing too, is what I did was really put me on the map was I went to every single community at the time in Summerlin. There was about 100 and something at the time. Took a picture of every single one of them. And then I created a page for each one of them. Not only did I create a page on it and describe, hey, this is where we are, also wrote in there, because I looked in the MLS, and this is one step further, is houses here are typically a single or a 2-story, square feet of 1,400 to 1,800 with 2 to 3 baths. So I did that on each one, and then I would give a little description. Not everybody did that, but I took the time and effort to do it. So that shows that I'm
very smart.
Now to be able to go back and just have that rewritten, because that data is old. So Google's like, hey, it's new stuff, and you keep telling me this old stuff. I'm like, here's what it is. It's kind of like I don't want to get anybody offended, but it's kind of like the flat earthers. Early in life, people thought the world was flat. Google kept on searching on it. You would think it's just flat, but now people have real science and data in there that it's not flat. So now that stuff, Google's looking for the new stuff.
Now you've done it. Now
I know. I didn't want to. I don't have any flat earthers.
The flat earthers are off of our show.
And if you go to the Sphere, you will see that it is not flat. But yeah,
okay,
so
maybe a quick wrap up of SEO is it's basically like content or keywords and long tail and all that whatever crap. But anyway, it's content and words that would make your real estate page rank highly based on what people are searching for.
Correct. So nowadays, Google got smart along with Facebook. So what they did was, hey, you got to pay to play. So like that first quarter of the page is now people that pay. That's when I stopped.
And that's Google AdWords?
Yeah, Google AdWords. So those people all, and you're going to get these third-party people that call you, hey, we work with Google. I'm like, are you at Google? Do you have a Google email? No. And I'm like, no, you don't. Because you can call Google directly and work with their team, and they'll create it. And they did it for myself as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So it can help rewrite your content for SEO is what the ChatGPT
probably like 90% you're going to be really good with that. On the complete opposite spectrum, you can ask any questions because I kind of talk a lot.
No, I was just going to say, and so we've talked about a couple of things that it can write stuff for. You just write it down word for word, whatever it says, or do you make some edits and change it to fit your language better, or how do you do it?
So you can change it to fit your language. So it'll come out with a generic of whatever it is. So it'll come down and put, as is. So when I was playing around with it early in life, and I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me see what I was trying to, I was getting ready for a Zoom call for the KW office in Orlando. So, all right. So let me think of some cool things. I'm like, all right, create first time home buyer's guide. I'm like, all right. So I hit click and I'm like, all right, and see what it looked like. And I'm like, holy crap, so I just copied it and then I uploaded it to my website because it was better than what I wrote.
Yeah.
So it was super slick.
Sometimes it hits it right on the head.
Yeah, absolutely.
It might need a little tweaking to.
Yeah, most of the time it's going to give you about a good 75%, 80%, but it's already past that stuff. You just need to tweak it a little bit. Like, so one of the classes that somebody wanted me to teach, they're like, hey, we need a guideline of what you're going to be teaching. I'm like, well, shoot, I don't really have one, but let me just put it in there. Create real estate, and I created that. And it came out and I just tweaked a couple of things. I'm like, I don't need to go and detail that stat. Then boom, send it off. And then here's another cool trick that you can do as well. Let's say something gets expired. I did that the other day. So I went over there and I showed their description and what they had of the property. And I brought the ChatGPT version. I said, hey, just small tweaks like this is I use AI to help market your property. This is what the original one. This could have been the case, or it could have been the horrible pictures you had that they used with their iPhone 10. But this is what we're doing with professional. And then along with our description. What do you think about that? Oh, that's a lot better. Yeah. But the guy interviewed 9 people. Wow. But I hit some home with the AI stuff. So
you won that one?
So I unofficially won that one, but there's no listing sign yet because there's some other legal issues with that one, and it'll be cleared in about 10 more days.
Oh, good. Well,
yeah. So he had sold it with another client, another agent, and then he pulled it back on the 2 days before closing.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So he got some EMD and maybe other stuff tied up.
No. He paid the buyer to say, hey, he's $5,000. I'm so sorry. And then the listing agent is like, you kind of owe me money.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's going away in 10 days. So we can't list it or sign anything until.
All right. Well, I hope you slam dunk that one. Okay. What else? So we got rewriting of stuff. And you said you have some like fun, practical.
Oh, absolutely. So I'll show you guys in a couple of minutes, but some other stuff that you could use it for is the other stuff is like emails. So sometimes we'll work with some really highly sophisticated people and you can't use like random slang because they'll look at you and say, I don't really feel comfortable with you. One of my clients, Robert, super like laser focused, like Harvard grad. And he's like, I have to make sure every single one of my emails and texts are perfect to a T. Yeah. So I use it for that as well. I haven't used it for translating into other languages, but it does do that as well. I'm not really comfortable with that, but emails are really cool. And then another thing too is creating emails too. You can create that part as well. On super high end stuff that probably most of us won't use anyways. So there's a lot of cool things that you can tap into it with your own stuff as well. So you could feed it your own data inside of So the API, which is a connection between like two softwares, they'd be able to talk. So the API on the back end is you can connect your data to it. So let's call it your CRM. And then you can go in there and like, hey, what do you think about this? Who's looking at houses more often and most likely what are they going to buy? And then it can create you a list on the side of that. So all that stuff needs to be programmed. You can't do it yourself. Well, theoretically you could. And then, like who's most active. Most CRMs are going to tell you who's more active anyways. But the better part is what is most likely that they're able to buy. I think White Lopo may do some of that stuff too. And I think they're using so they're pretty slick. They were ahead of the game in the AI stuff, probably like 2018, 19.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have them with Raya, and I haven't been using it a lot lately. It's just on autopilot, but it does have a lot of that stuff in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Analytics and stuff.
Yeah. So that's on the super high end stuff where it's only going to be just a small bit of you guys using that, be able to put some real data in there and have it look at your own data. So that's part of it as well. But that's really outside of what most of us are going to use it for. I don't use it for that.
Yeah. No, you know what I've used it for in a few cases? Job descriptions, job ads for like Indeed, offer letters. What else? I mean, that kind of stuff, like hiring stuff.
Yeah, and that's really funny because one of my clients just called me a couple of weeks ago. She goes, "Hey, how do I quit this job?" And I said, "I don't know. Hold on, let me put it in ChatGPT. How to quit sincerely." And then that's one of the things. So another thing is you can have stuff written and then you could change the tone of it.
Yes. I was going to say, too, be careful because some of it can be painfully obvious that it's ChatGPT. So if you have something printed out or you have something typed up, make sure to look at it and make sure, like, does this sound appropriate? And does this sound like something that I would say? And, so sometimes it can be a little grandiose in its response.
Correct. And then another thing, too, is sometimes that data may not be 100% correct. So you can't just write it, copy it, shoot it off. You have to proofread it and make sure that it's right.
Yep. Makes sense.
So, let me see, share my screen and I'll pop up some stuff here.
Oh, you know what? At the bottom of this Zoom is a button for AI Companion. I don't know what that is, but that's new for me.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what it could do. But
on Zoom?
Yeah, it's a button. There's two new buttons. There's a summary button. And Jared, do you have the share screen for Alvie set up?
Let me see if I can hit it. I am going to do. I'm going to do my Chrome. Here we go.
And just so you know, we have around 5-10 minutes in time.
Sure, absolutely. And I had pre-written some stuff already on here. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. So this is what ChatGPT 3.5 looks like. It's not very pretty, but at this point, we don't really care. So this is their user interface. So the really cool thing is you can just put whatever you want. I'm like right here. I don't know if you can see that, but it does say create a VA buyer's guideline list. So before that, you can give it a prompt so that this thing's really, you could do it as regular and it'll be close, but then you could say act as, so you can give it all these different prompts. So you can say act as a doctor, act as a real estate agent, act as a salesperson. So you give it a role and then it'll become that role. So it'll be more focused on that. So I put in there act as a real estate agent because I want to make sure I'm like, hey, it's giving me information on that part as well. And it does say, hey, we're going to act as a real estate agent, but hey, keep in mind, you can't replace a real estate agent, which is absolutely true because Zillow and all those people try to replace us, and look at them now. I'm just throwing it out.
Look at them.
Look at them. Open door as well.
Open door. See you, my friend.
Yeah. But I was worried for a hot second, though, because had they gone the way they should have been and quit being greedy,
they could have done it.
They really got greedy. So anyway, so I just wrote in there, it says create a VA buyer's guideline list. And that's one of the things that's prompted in there. It says certainly, and then it gives me this list of stuff in here and it looks pretty good. So like I said before, it's very content driven. So it'll create some of this content for you. So just in case you ever get stuck and I'm like, well, I don't know, whatever it is. So then here's another cool thing is you can write in there is you can say, all right, so I got that cool data. I'm like, dude, this is really good. I'm going to put it on my website, put it on an email, put it on a flyer. What if I just did create a YouTube script for a VA buyer? So then you can go and you could read this and go through a script that it had created for you to do YouTube videos, and then you could cut that down into Instagram. You can put that into TikTok. TikTok started to pick up a little bit. It got dead, and then it came back dead. I don't know, but YouTube should be like your main focus. Be able to drop that stuff inside of there. So creates a script and even tells you in there, host and be able to go through that whole spiel. and then you can cut that down later. And then another cool thing is, let's say you create that already, then you use a CAPTCHA app where you could put the words underneath when you're speaking to it. Then you could people will read it, and that's more likely to catch on more with YouTube and the other algorithms behind the scenes. So you'll be viewed more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes super good sense. This is one I didn't think of writing scripts.
Oh, dude, it's so awesome. It does all kinds of cool stuff in there. I'll go through the rest of the stuff I had pre-generated, and then I'll go into some cool stuff you can do on hand. So super slick stuff. And then here's the so I did here's a really cool thing that I came up with during my other classes. Like, this one didn't catch on right because I didn't write it right. So so I just said Las Vegas versus Houston, Texas, because my good friend lives in Houston, and she's like, I sell 1 billion houses. I said, I know you do, because you're cheaper. And so here's the whole thing about, hey, the difference between the two, but it's kind of like, I'm not telling it to do a difference in that when it comes to housing, because it goes through all this cool process and stuff. But this is all old data from 2021-ish. I think that's when it comes to. So then, so this is when I went back in there. I'm like, ooh, create a new home buyers guide for first time home buyers. And then they'll come through and do a little introduction, and they'll go through this list, which is pretty slick. Yeah. And it'll just pretty much put all that stuff in there, at least put you in the right mindset to be able to do stuff. You could probably use about 85, 90% in there. I throw a lot of stats out there, and it may not be right, but I throw it out there anyways. So then I said, all right, create a first-time home buyer guide using SEO keyword first-time home buyer. Right? Wow. You could keep pushing it to a level where like content. Purpose. And then, I'm like, oh, all right, that sounds good. So luckily we touched on the SEO earlier. So this is the reason why I'm going to go back and use all my old stuff in there and then rehash it. And so it has new data, even though it's the same data as before, and I'm not creating anything new. It's just rewording it, maybe putting some new stuff in there, dropping it back, sending it back to Google and saying, hey, I got new stuff. Rank me back
crawlers. There's crawlers that go over all content.
So the old
recognize
version,
you have new content.
Yeah, the Webmaster Tools was super cool. That's gone away. So they created some new stuff. And then I had that go through the system again just recently in the last couple of weeks. And then it said I had like 7,000 errors, and I had to go back in there and had it re-clean up. So now we'll probably see some ranking later in life. But right now that's something on the back part. The front part is, hey, let's get some more deals together for now. And that's going to be a long-term project. But super cool the way it's written out to that. I'm glad I had it already pre-written from earlier.
That's awesome.
And here's something else super cool is write a congratulation email on getting pre-qualified for a new home, right? Because for first-time home buyers, getting qualified, you don't really know. I'm like, am I going to get qualified or am I not going to get qualified? And boom, you get qualified, and then you can get an email like this that goes out. That's pretty badass.
It's a nice touch. People aren't doing that for their clients. So
it even tells you the subject. It says congratulations.
That's dope, dude.
And so then you can tell my excitement level goes up. I start screaming and stuff like I'm at Taylor Swift.
I love it. If I'm recovering from nose surgery, so if I'm sniffing, by the way, I'm sorry for that. I can't stop. But I'd be more colorful with you because this is super exciting. Oh, man.
No, this is like so exciting that I tell people, like other people are going to do it. So then I wrote, it didn't seem very sincere. Like, I hope this email finds you well. When I get emails like this, I get upset. I'm like, you did not put the effort into it. And people text me and they do that too. I write back. I said, it looks very scripty, homie. That's how I write back because you need to be called out when you're writing stuff like this. Yeah. So I put in there more sincere. So it said, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you this script, but I'm like, hey, I need this to be more sincere. And it's really super awesome. I felt it.
A moment of joy and anticipation because today we have wonderful news. I love it, dude. That's funny.
So those are the things you can do. So you'll see the difference between, hey, this is the old stuff. And then, that should be good enough. But if you're going to get go ahead.
I like how you can just add a thing, like more sincere.
So it still knows that we're still in that screenplay, kind of like me and you, we're talking about whatever. And I say, oh, what about this? We're still talking on that same concept. And this is the old version too. So it's it'll go through. And that's what I had set up on this. So you're like, how can I get on this ChatGPT 4? Because there's new data in there. So let me tell you this. So ChatGPT 4 and Bing are together. They're like,
Oh, wow.
like best friends now because they bought XML, whatever it is. So now they're
Bing
together.
exists. There's another search platform other than Google. Bing
There's
exists.
Bing. I don't use it, but I only use it for ChatGPT 4.
That's funny.
Yeah, so you can go
Smart for Bing.
You can go search inside of Bing, just go bing.com and then put Bing ChatGPT 4, and then it'll bring you to this. They want you to sign in, but I don't have a sign in. So the workaround, because you're only going to get like a couple of prompts before they'll start hitting you with, hey, you got to sign in. I don't know. But when I did the same search, I said VA buyer's guy, it kind of went in more depth into it. It looks a lot better.
Oh, okay.
It looks a lot better and cleaner. So I'm like, ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. And then here's another thing that you could do to create content for yourself is create a blog post on why someone would live in Summerlin. Because
Did you write that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, is it coming up with this stuff now?
No.
Oh, okay.
But it probably is. And that's probably another reason why, because you can get it on your phone, but I kind of feel like I don't want AI on my phone, even though it's already there with Siri and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. One extra layer, I kind of feel like I really don't. So that's just me.
We're about to go to the Matrix or to,
exactly. So then I wrote in there, I said, hey, create a blog post on why someone would live in Summerlin. And it gives you this whole list, talking about trails. Oh, it's 150 miles. I knew it was 100 plus. Wow. Another cool thing that I learned the other day is that, there's 2 TPC golf courses and there's only 36 in the whole entire world. So we got 2 of them in Summerlin. So I'm like, this is super awesome. Arizona only has 1, the whole state. California only has 2, their whole state. And we have 2 in our own little community. So they talk about villages and stuff. And then that's where I put that Houston versus Texas in there again. But why would I buy a house in Vegas versus Houston? And it goes through the list, basically the same kind of information. But then it does say that the real estate market in Vegas is booming and home prices are rapidly rising. So that's good.
Yep.
And then here at the end, it says you have reached your limit.
Okay.
So you have to sign in. So the workaround is you can go in incognito mode. And then it'll allow you to do more on that as well. So this is the homepage of that Bing. It says, hey, you want to try it? Cool. And then go in there. So a lot of cool stuff you could do with this. And it's pretty slick. But I think majority of the people probably won't put the effort into it, even though it's doing most of the heavy lifting on the content creation side.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great tool. I still forget to use it, and I use maybe more than some people. But like when I'm like, okay, so like I'm a note taker, right? So sometimes I'll start writing like scripts or things that I want in my ads or whatever as I'm thinking about it. And then I need Tara to type it for me because I just can't go from that A to B. I'm like, I did the work once. I can't do it.
Yeah, no, I do that too.
And then we can start loading stuff into ChatGPT to funk it up or to put it together because some of this is shorthand. This isn't like perfect stuff. So that's kind of what I use it for. But then I'm just really particular about words and how I want stuff. So I always want my style on it. So then sometimes it's some back and forth. But for one thing, it's like you said, probably 90% or more good the way it is. Look at it and make sure that it's makes sense. And then
absolutely,
if it's too generic, then fix it up a little bit. It does so much of the heavy lifting.
Absolutely. So let's say also that, you don't want to go through the effort of talking to this, be able to do like a video. You could do a video of like Summerlin, let's call it Summerlin, do a video of all the areas and kind of have this in the background. So you can do like, I believe it's a Lab 11, and they'll clone your voice and they'll read the script as it's your voice. So then you don't really have to do any of the work.
Wait, what is it called? Lab 11?
Lab 11. Let me see if it's in there. Maybe I shouldn't put it on it in case it goes to some other site, but it should be Lab 11.
The script, what is it called? Script reading?
Yeah. And
voiceover work?
Lab 11 AI.
That's awesome.
Super slick stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, That's freaking cool. That right there is a gem and a
Sure, let
half.
me see if we
Because
could
I've
do
had people do that for my luxury listings, where I have them read a script over the video of the house as a drone flies through and above and all of that.
let me
I like to make a real production out of it.
let me see.
And those voiceover folks are.
Let me see if it'll do that. I don't know if it'll go over.
Summerlin is a master
Can you hear
planned
it?
community located in the western rim of the Las Vegas Valley, Nevada. Here are some reasons why someone would want to live in Summerlin.
You see, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
like Michelle's voice.
Yeah.
That is super slick. I've never tried it out, but I'm glad.
Summerlin is a master planned community located in the western rim of the Las Vegas Valley, Nevada.
Ooh. I'm gonna use that girl for my voicemail.
Why someone would want to live in
Sick, dude.
So,
Yeah.
11. So you can clone your own voice to be able to get on there, and it'll read this stuff for you. It'll be super slick and cool.
Labs.io. Okay, cool.
And this is where I should
that-
be bumped up from 14 to like 3 or 4. I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like Deion Sanders. I keep receipts.
Prime time, baby.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
Well,
that's pretty much the whole spiel on the AI stuff. Is super slick and cool.
Yeah, maybe in a word or two, what would you say would be good final thoughts? Maybe you can stop sharing the screen too, and we'll just wrap it up with, your final overview thoughts on ChatGPT for real estate agents, and we'll let everybody get on with a wonderful day.
I'm trying to figure out how do I get back from this screen share. Oh, there.
Maybe Tara, can you help them?
There it is. There it is. So, yeah. So the main thing with ChatGPT, it's not going to solve all your business problems. You're still going to have business problems. You still got to do the basics. You got to smile and dial. There's no change in that. It's going to be more of an assistant to help you out. So you're an agent and you produce at X amount of level. Maybe it's going to give you an extra 5-10% more productivity wise. And then if you're someone like me, I'm like, well, I really hate writing that kind of stuff. It'll help you out on that. So you can give it the big context, like, hey, I'm a big global guy, but I need to fill in all this little small stuff in between. And then that'll pop in and fill that gap for you. And it's pretty slick, man. And it's stuff lazy wise that you don't want to do, create more stuff to it. Like that pre-approval thing. I came up with that this morning when I was preparing for this. I'm like, oh, that is something I need to do. And I just thought process of what I need to do. And that was something there. And I'm like, oh, what other things we could do?
Yeah, so it's not a fix-all, but it's definitely an amazing tool to help people go from A to B in a big way without a whole lot of effort. So great ROI.
No, absolutely. And then, so real estate is a contact sport. It hasn't been really that prevalent because, we were really spoiled in that late 2000 to 2021. We really didn't have to do much to be able to create new business. But now we got to go back to our basics and be able to contact some of our people. So super slick stuff. And that was one of the reasons, because I had never done a client appreciation event. Most of the time people just don't live here, but that was one of the things I'm like, oh, I could jump on that to be able to do that as well. And then hopefully
and
my
I think
next one is going to be at the Golden Knights.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, and I think what you're doing too is doing the right thing, and this is what agents should do, is get on there and play with it. Play with ideas of, like you did. You were just typing in terms and different things to see what it can come up with. And I think when you play with that and you get into it for an hour or two or however long you want to play with it, you'll come up with even better ideas. And then you can kind of build a list of things like, oh man, I didn't even think of that, and this and that. And build as you go. The more you play with it, the more you
probably even
learn.
prompt it too and said, hey, what are daily tasks I should be doing as a real estate agent? Maybe it'll throw some stuff out there. So I did one of the other classes. People asked me, can you create a list for getting a house ready to sell? So I had put that in there. And, it came through all the good stuff. But one of the cool things that I'd never even thought of in there was have your clients rent a storage unit so they can put all their clutter in there. Let's say the garage gets full. Usually we tell people the garage, but if the garage is full or I need to go and park my car in the garage because I need to charge it, you could use a storage unit. I never even thought about that. So that's really cool. That was one of the tips in there. And I learned, Well, that's smart, thinking outside the box. You never know where you're going to get the tips from. You just got to utilize them.
Or even get a pod for that matter, because if they're moving anyway,
Yeah, that's true
just
too.
ship that pod to wherever.
Yeah, so the pod game has got really expensive. Knowing a guy who moved for 3 years, it's really, really ramped up.
That's true. That's true. If they're going to move out of state, maybe it's worth it if they're going to move all their stuff anyway.
So the new thing is the U-Haul pods, which is about a third of the cost. My clients just did that as well. So
I think I've seen those too. Are those kind of like canvas side ones?
Yeah, they're kind of like that. So I think I don't know how they are, but I've been seeing them a lot lately because they're a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So my client just needs to move a few things, and I'm like, hey, pod. And he goes, nah, it's too expensive. So then the U-Haul pods are a lot cheaper.
Full of tips, man. Alvie, I appreciate you being on the show. You're a great friend, a good person, heck of a guy, great professional real estate agent. Anybody that's looking to work to buy or sell or invest something in Las Vegas, please call Alvie. He's also what's your sports entertainment title?
Position? So I'm part of the sports and entertainment division of Keller Williams. So it's not what we really focus 99% of our time on. So, we do work with everyone, but we are working with sports and entertainment people, which is super cool. Yep. And you just don't know who they are. And it's super ridiculous. I had sold one to a guy, and he invited me back to his house to show you what he did. And I said, are those Grammys? He goes, you didn't know? I said, no, I didn't. He goes, good, because you treated me like a normal person. I'm like, as you should be.
Yeah, that's what I love about Vegas too, is running into crazy industry people. I mean, I've run into drum techs for like cool and like, all kinds of cool band and musician and everything. So that's super fun. Yeah, so if anybody needs any help with real estate in Las Vegas, Alvie's a heck of a guy, takes great care of all of his clients, and you won't go wrong by hiring him.
And I would love to do a market class with you because numbers is my thing. I'm one of those numbers nerds.
Coming up soon. Thanks for volunteering for that. We will get that scheduled when we have our new platform stuff set up, which will be hopefully still this week. And we'll get you on the next couple of weeks for that. So thanks for joining us today, Alvie.
Get better, man.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. And look forward to seeing you next time I'm in Vegas, which might be pretty soon.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
All right. Have a good one, buddy. See you.
Later.